Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brittany Miller, and I'm excited to be back for this week's session of Connecting Live. Thank you so much for joining us. For those just jumping on, welcome to the Raising Special Kids weekly Facebook Live series. Today, we have a wonderful topic that we get calls about all the time from families, and we'll dive into that soon. So welcome and thank you for being here. As a way of an update for Raising Special Kids, of course, we've been busy helping families. We do want to make sure that families are aware that summer school for parents is coming up. It's an annual tradition we have here at Raising Special Kids, and this year it is virtual again, but we have some fun and informative trainings lined up, so please head over to our website. We will put the link in the comments because you can go ahead and get registered already. It's on Saturday, June 26th, and we'll have a full day of trainings. We're going to have a virtual lunchroom, of course, some Facebook Live giveaways like we did last year, and we really encourage families to take advantage of this day of learning over the summer. Also, we are wrapping up our Arizona tax credit campaign. This year, the deadline was extended along with the tax deadline. So May 17th is when the last day you can donate to Raising Special Kids using your Arizona tax credit. We will also put that link in the comments. It's a simple way to donate and get all of your money back. And we truly do appreciate those individuals in the community that are supporting Raising Special Kids and the work we do supporting families raising children with disabilities in Arizona. So I want to dive into today's topic. We are very lucky today. We have Gloria McGinty from the Association of Supportive Childcare. She is joining us. So welcome, Gloria.
Hi everyone. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and share some information from our families. Before we get started on the questions, I just wanted to give some information to our audience to learn about Gloria and her experience. So she has worked in the early childhood field for over 38 years as a teacher, director, consultant, and trainer, and an early childhood developmental instructor with Maricopa Community Colleges. Gloria has developed and instructed both courses and workshops that teach how to work with the diverse needs of students and their families. She has done extensive work on enhancing infant and toddler development and has implemented trauma-informed care curriculum. She has a master's degree in educational leadership and a credential in adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, which includes historical trauma related to multicultural experiences. So as you can see, she is very experienced and we're very lucky to have her on Facebook Live today. So thank you again, Gloria, for joining us.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So as we talked previously, we get many calls at Raising Special Kids from families who have children with disabilities that are looking for childcare options for their children. Multiple times a week, we get calls from parents, and we thought it would be really beneficial to have you on and answer some questions for our parents listening in so they know how to better choose the appropriate childcare facility and program for their child, and some tips and suggestions on how to prepare them and questions they can ask the program about how they run things and how they support families with children who have disabilities. So I have gathered some questions that we hear often from our parents. And if you don't mind, Gloria, we'll just go down the list and I'll ask them you and you can share some information.
Right.
Perfect. So when looking for a child care center, what factors should parents take into consideration when doing their research?
You want to look for the interactions that the teachers have with the children, as well as the interaction that the staff have with each other. Also too, when you go into the facility, even if it's during a busy time, if you're being greeted by the director or the office staff, because we know in childcare, it's always busy. Even when you go early in the morning, there's always something going on. The children are needing to be taken care of, their needs. But that is something you want to look for when you walk in, is that are they acknowledging you as a new person coming into their program? You also want to look at other things such as the smells in the program, because that's really important. Does it smell like it's clean, or if it's overly bleached and things, because some children can have some sensitivity if it's too perfumey, but you want to take that into consideration. You also want to see how if you do come in at a time when a parent is dropping their child off, or if they're picking their child up, that interaction that's going on between the director, the staff members, and the families that are coming into the program. And there's just so many different things that you are wanting to take under consideration. But that main one is how they acknowledge you and your child when you first walk through those doors, wanting to find out about their program, because I'm sure everyone has heard about the first impression can go a long way. So that's what you want to take under consideration as well. And I did give Brittany a checklist that you can take along with you from Quality First, when it has a list of things to tell you to look for. Also looking at ratio, and what the ratio is that adult child ratio in the classroom, and that information is on that checklist. For example, if you are an infant teacher and you're going into that infant classroom and there's only one staff in there, there should be no more than 5 infants in that classroom. If there are 6 or more in there, there should be 2 adults in the classroom. And a lot of times parents are not aware of that. So I'm sure Brittany will make sure you get that checklist, and it will help you with a lot of the questions and things that you're wanting to be looking out for as you go into a program.
Thank you, Gloria. And we did go ahead and find the link to that and put it in the chat. So we encourage families, download that checklist and take it with you and prepare, as you go to tour these facilities. And thank you for sharing some of those tips. The ratio question is actually one that I've heard many times from parents. So that's good to know. We want our families to know that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Gloria, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said you're welcome.
Okay. So are there certain credentials or criteria they should be asking about?
For the teachers, if you are wanting to know if the teachers have their credentials, you can ask that with the directors, but you also need to understand too that some teachers might still be in school, taking classes, working towards the degree. Many childcare programs, the teachers do not have to have an associate's or a bachelor's degree, but they do have to have hours of training that they have to take every year, a total of 18 hours. There's also certain hours of trainings that they have to take within the first 10 days. Their director has to go over the program's philosophy. There's a list. Also, I did give Brittany a list of those particular goals that directors have to go over with all new employees within the first 10 days of employment. And many programs like the Quality First programs, you can look up those programs through First Things First. A lot of their teachers are in school for early childhood or social work, or getting a degree with working with children and families. So if you are wanting to make sure that the teachers in your program taking care of your children have a certain degree, that's something you can look for in a Quality First program. Even other programs that are not Quality First programs, you'll find a lot of teachers that are out there in the field working towards their degree. But the other thing you want to look at also too is that a degree doesn't make a person. What comes from a person's heart, their love for working with children, taking care of children, putting children's needs first. That's what you're wanting to see also. So it's a combination of experiences as well as a degree that can make that well-rounded teacher. But you don't want to just say, I'm not putting my child in a program because these teachers don't have a degree. You can have a teacher with a degree and don't have that passion, or you can have a teacher with passion and doesn't have a degree. And so I hope that answers your question.
Definitely, and that's such a good point. A lot of the individuals that go into the early childhood field do have a love for this age group of
Mhm.
children and want to support them, the families. And so thank you for that reminder. And it's
Yeah.
also good to know as a, as a parent to know that there are, there is continuing education. There are trainings that they have to complete. And I did want to share with our families that we did put the Quality First link in our chat for First Things First, so they can use that when they're searching for a child care program. It's
Mhm.
something we refer families to all the time at Raising Special Kids. So I'm glad you brought that up.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we touched on it briefly, Gloria, but what are some other questions that would be good or helpful for a family to ask the child care facility if they're considering it as a possibility for their child?
You want to know what their policy is on discipline,
Okay.
what that policy looks like. You also want to know if you have a child like toddlers, we know in the field, and parents also know that 2-year-olds, they're gaining that autonomy and they might start learning, they're doing the independence, and sometimes biting comes along with that. And if that's the case and you have a 2-year-old, you might want to find out what is their policy for biting, because biting does happen in childcare programs. You also want to know what is their policy that they have for if a child is sick. Especially here and now with the pandemic, a lot of policies have changed. But you want to know what their policies and philosophies are. You also want to check about their lesson plans. Do they have a lesson plan that looks at diversity, inclusion, and it's an exclusive classroom to where all children our needs are being met, children from different backgrounds, children from all types of abilities, that they're being included in the program and they're seen as individuals, as well as that respect that they would have for the child's family.
That's such a good point. And I know myself, and I'm sure many parents that are going to listen to this or listening now, the inclusion piece is so important to us having children with disabilities. And I love that you brought that up, that making sure the curriculum and the education is echoing that theme and having all children involved. So that's such a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're
Um,
welcome.
so this is a question we get all the time, quite often, I would say multiple times a week at Raising Special Kids. Gloria, can a child care center refuse to accept a child with disabilities?
No, they can't. Okay,
Okay.
so there are laws out there to protect children, and the one is the IDEA, that is the Individual with Disabilities Act, and that is a law. Also, parents want to take under consideration too that you want to make sure it's a good fit for your child. And many directors, and I know many that I have worked with, it's not that they want to turn families away, children away with the disabilities. It could very well be that they don't have the training to work with children with disabilities. I know for myself, when I first started out in the field, it could be a little frightening and not afraid of the child. It's more of, am I going to do something wrong?
Sure.
Wanting to make sure that I'm giving this child my best, and that I'm including this child in every aspect of the classroom. We want children, when they come into our programs, to be treated with respect, just like every child that comes into the program. We don't want children to feel because they have a disability that they're different and that they need to be treated different, because we're not wanting that. Back in the day, that was our old way of doing things. Now we're so inclusive with everything, to where if a child does come into a program with the disabilities, having that conversation right up front with the director, if your child has an IEP or an IFSP, sharing that information, because it's great to partner. If your child is going to a developmental preschool, it's great to have that partnership to know what's working in the developmental preschool so they can bring that information into the childcare program and also partnering together. But no program should be turning any children away if they are saying that they're going to, or this is they don't accept children with disabilities. Do your research and find out from them why. And you can also let them know that there is a bill out there, there is a law out there, and that's the one I mentioned earlier, which is IDEA. It's that Individual Disabilities Act, and that gives children the right to be in programs. So you want to just make sure you're having that conversation with the directors and communicating with each other to make sure it is a good fit for your child, because a lot of times as adults, we look at what is a good fit for the adult and not for the child. So you want to make sure as a parent that this is the best program that you can put your child in to have the support that they need. I do know that Raising Special Kids, I've had a partnership with them as an instructor. They have services to where they can also support families when they are looking for childcare centers. They have partners, families together to even go with them on these visits and help with these tough conversations that sometimes are hard for parents to even bring up to directors. So you can check in with them and get that support as well.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. We're always here to support families, and we do get calls all the time with parents, trying to find and navigate childcare. And I'll be honest, Gloria, we do get parents calling in and saying, the daycare or the childcare center shared that they can't meet my child's needs and they can't attend here. So at that point, what would you suggest the parent do?
I would probably check with DES, which is to find out, because that's where their contract is coming from. If they are having children come into the program, that's funding, which is DES. Trying to think of the right thing when it comes to DES, but there's also the Department of Health Services that provides the program their license. And you can check with them to find out if what the explanation that they're giving you, if it is a good explanation. But you also want to look in, like I said, with that conversation with the director. And if they're saying that they're doing it because they don't want your child there, or are they saying it because the staff aren't trained or they can't accommodate your child, depending on the needs of the child. And you want to take that under consideration also.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. So we have several other questions kind of regarding children with disabilities attending childcare. So if a child's enrolled and they have a disability and they're going to a center, what types of accommodations could that program provide to help them? What are some possibilities?
Once again, it depends on the need of the child.
Sure.
And if it is like if the child is in a wheelchair and they are needing a ramp, if they're needing to do a lot of reconstruction in the program. Okay, so when it comes to that type of changes that need to be made, if it's going to be a financial burden on the program, then the program could say financially, we're not able to do this. But if the program is able to do it, if they are open to making those changes, and a lot of times, if it is, it's more of not having to create a ramp, but just making space in the classroom, changing the classroom environment, like moving the furniture around. So the child, that if they are in a wheelchair, they're able to move around comfortably and be able to interact with their peers. But it just depends on the type of disabilities the child has to see what type of accommodations the program would have to make.
Okay.
Or even if they're able to make them, because some programs are not, like I said earlier, if it comes to being a financial situation, some programs are just not able to financially to make accommodations.
Okay. Some other accommodations parents have asked us before, if they have special dietary needs, if they have sensory issues or sensory processing struggles, would those be reasonable requests to talk with the program about to support their child?
Yes, I would think so. I definitely would think so. And I do know that a lot of programs are open to working with families when it comes to a child's dietary and sensory needs. And I've worked with quite a few programs that are willing to help with that accommodation. And a lot of it, like I keep saying, is going back to that communicating, talking with them and finding out and partnering together.
Definitely. That's a philosophy we share here when we support families, working together with your child's team, being a team member and sharing input. And I know personally, and a lot of our families do too, when you have a child with a disability, you belong to many teams. And I like that you brought up earlier, and we're going to talk about a question related to this in a minute about, if a child has an IEP, if they attend preschool, or if they have, an ISP, they're getting services from DDD or something like that, sharing that information so everyone can be on the same page to support
Yes,
that child with their goals. That was such a good point to bring up. Thank
yes.
you.
You're welcome.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So if a child, say they have services through the Department of Developmental Disabilities or Arizona Early Intervention, and the parents work and the child attends a childcare program, are therapists allowed to go to these facilities and do therapies there during the day?
Yes, the programs that I have worked with in the communities, they want that partnership. They want the therapist to come in and show them what they are doing, so everyone is on the same page. I remember when I was a director, my staff did go to the developmental pre-K to see what was going on in the classroom so they can bring those strategies and goals back into their classrooms so the child would be successful. And I know the programs out in the community, they crave that partnership because they want everyone to be on the same page. And also too, if parents are open to having the preschool teacher be at those IFSP or the IEP meetings, the parents are the ones that get to make that decision. And if you see your child's preschool as a part of the partnership, then I do say invite them if that's something you are interested in, because teachers really want that information. They want the children to be successful in their classrooms.
Thank you. That's a good point. When we're working with families in special education and they have concerns, we tell parents, if you're having an IEP meeting, if you have people that work with your child, whether it's a provider or a respite caregiver, or in your suggestion, the child care program, and they're willing, bring them to that meeting so they can speak to what the child's doing and be part of that process. So yeah, that was such a good point to bring up. This question comes up a lot. So many of our families have children with disabilities, and behavior struggles are part of that. So if a child is attending a daycare, is there any sort of behavioral support? Can the staff be trained if this is part of their child's disability? What would you suggest the family does in this case?
I would once again have that that conversation with the directors, letting them know, because if they can come up with a plan, like if something is working at home, for example, if they're doing transitions and the child needs a 5 or 10 minute warning. So there's strategies that the team can work together so the child is successful, so the child isn't having a hard time. So if it comes to what are you using at home when your child is having a hard time, they're having a difficult time, is there something that you already have in place? Or sitting down with the program and saying, let's talk about if this situation occurs, they have a tantrum, they have a meltdown, or they're getting upset and they don't want to listen. Let's put some strategies together that we can work as a team so your child is successful. If the child is already working with a specialist, finding out if that specialist is able to meet with the preschool team and talk about what strategies work for your child. Also too, and quality first programs, many of the programs have a quality first coach, and they support the program, the teachers, and helping with children with with behavioral, and that's what their role is to help with behavioral management in the classroom. Also too, some programs that are part of Quality First have an inclusion coach, and that coach is there to provide support with children with disabilities in the classroom. So when you're going through your research or you're going through your tour and you're asking these questions, finding out if the program is a part of Quality First. And if they say, yes, we are a part of Quality First, then find out if they have that inclusion coach, that Quality First coach. And some of them even have a nurse. And with that nurse, they can help with any sensory or dietary problems that a child may have, because that's their role, is to support the teacher so the teacher can support the child.
That's incredible. I'm really glad that you told us about this. So if a family wanted to find out if their childcare facility was a Quality First accredited one, would they contact the facility, or should they go to the website, or could they do both? What would be the best way to get the support of the inclusion coach or the behavioral specialist or even the nurse?
They could do both. They could do both. When you're calling around to different programs, you can find out if they are a Quality First program, or you can go into the website and put in your zip code, and it'll tell you which programs are a Quality First program. But you also want to keep in mind, not all Quality First programs have the inclusion coach or the nurse, or they do have the Quality First coach. But when it comes to the inclusion coach and the nurse, that depends on the area that you're in because of the funding and everything. So you want to look into that also, and you would be able to get that information.
Thank you. And families listening in, we did put that website link in the chat. So definitely check out Quality First when you're looking for a childcare program. It sounds like they have some wonderful resources. So on the topic of behavior, what should a family do if the child care center says, your child's no longer allowed to go here because of your behaviors, they have to expel them? What should the parent do?
The program should at the beginning already be sharing their philosophy, their discipline philosophy that they have in place. When you enroll your child or when you go to that tour, that's one thing you definitely want to find out, is what their philosophy is. The programs do have to, especially if they are a DES program, they have to have tried different strategies. Teachers go to trainings, they get support. So even before it gets to that point, the program should already have been having conversations with the parents and trying to find out a best way to work with the child, so it doesn't get to that point of them saying, this is no longer a good fit. We're at the point where we're going to remove your child from our program. So there's steps that they should definitely have in place, so it doesn't even get to that point of saying, we're going to remove your child from our program. Parents also want to look at going back to what I said earlier, is this a good fit for your child? Okay, because if the program is not a good fit for your child, it might be convenient for you. The price might be in the price range that you're looking at and everything. We take so much under consideration, but we also want to take under consideration, is this a good fit for your child? And if it isn't, you want to find the best fit for your child so your child will be successful, and not only successful, but happy that they're going to a childcare program.
Definitely. So you've mentioned DES a few times. I just wanted to clarify for families. So the Department of Economic Security, and this leads us right into our next question. They have child care assistance. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Gloria?
Yes, they do. They do provide child care assistance for families. And that's where I'm saying, before a program could even remove a child from a program because of that DES funding, or the DES money funding that the program is receiving, there's different things. They have to follow different strategies before they can even just remove a child from a program. So if you are going in under a DES contract, that's another thing that they'll be sharing that information with you, because when you leave, the DES funding will go with you to another program. And that's why DES is saying they want programs to try everything before they get to that point of saying, we're going to remove your child. So we're bringing in specialists to work with us. We're sending our child to trainings. We've had conversations with the parents. We've tried this, and this is the last resort. And also too, is it to where the behavior, is it harming other children? Is it harming the facility? Is it harmful to the child or even to the staff, to where it's to that point of saying, we're going to remove the child? But the DES funding is available for families to be able to put their children in a DES program.
Thank you. And we did put the information to apply for child care assistance. It's my understanding it is based on your income, so families can apply and can see if they qualify.
Yes.
But the funding can go towards, paying for your child to attend child care.
Definitely.
And so then, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gloria.
And another thing too, for Quality First programs, they do have scholarships. So you can check into that as well, to if they have scholarships in that particular program. But with the scholarship funding, those scholarships will pay for childcare as well. But you would have to find out if their particular program offers the First Things First scholarships for children.
Thank you. I didn't know about that. So definitely families listening in, check that out. You could receive some support that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So you have mentioned before Quality First, which is a wonderful way to search for childcare programs. Are there any other resources or searches families can use when they're trying to find a preschool or a childcare program for their kiddo?
Yes, and the one that I do have, I want to check my notes. It is it's the Child Care Resource and Referral. That's the CCRR. And I did give that information to Brittany as well. Their job is to help families find childcare. And they also have a checklist. They also have a parent page that will really support families when they're trying to find the best childcare that's going to be a good fit for not only for their child, but for you as a parent as well, because childcare should be a partnership.
Thank you. And we encourage families to check it out. I have personally gone to that website and they have some great resources. Download that checklist and use it when you're trying to, schedule tours and researching childcare programs when you're trying to find the best one for your child. So Quality First is a good way to search. And then the Childcare Resource and Referral, two valuable resources that have ways to look for a program and also some tools and tips for parents. So, wrapping things up, Gloria, we've talked about a lot of topics today related to childcare. Are there any words of advice or helpful resources that you can give to parents or families as they're starting out in this search and trying to find a childcare program for their child with a disability?
I did give you all the resources and the links that I
Yeah.
had. I did give those to Brittany, but making sure that you have a voice for your child. Uh, Raising Special Kids is so passionate about helping families with children with disabilities have that voice to make sure that their child's need is being met in childcare programs. So you want to make sure you continue to do that. And if you walk into a program and it doesn't feel right, a good fit for you, then go to the next program, because there's a lot of great programs out there, and there's a lot of great directors out there that want to partner with families and want children to be successful and enjoy being in childcare programs, and teachers that have this love for bringing children with all kinds of backgrounds into the program. But you are the one that is you are your child's first and most important teacher, and the people that you're bringing into their lives becomes the secondary and the partner. Each role is so important, and helping your child be successful in whichever program that you do choose for them. But I do want to tell Brittany, thank you for saying about DES, because it is Department of Economic Security, because when I was thinking about it and my mind was going, it was like, come on, you do the contract, you do the trainings, you're supposed to know this. And my mind just went blank. So thank you for doing that. And I hope the information that I am sharing today is helpful for parents that are looking for care for their children.
It has been incredibly helpful, and no worries. This world is, whether it's the disability world or the early childhood education field, it is filled with acronyms.
Yes.
And sometimes I get tongue twisted too, so no worries. And we had a comment in the chat that I wanted to share that really reinforces what the words of wisdom you shared with us as we're closing today. Jana shares, parents partnering with professionals equals improved outcomes for our children. And I'm sure you agree that is very true.
Yes.
Yeah, Raising Special Kids, every day we're coaching families to work with whatever team, that their child is a part of, and to be a member at the table, and to be kind and collaborative and learn how to better advocate for their child. So I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share information about childcare, help us as families to understand, the best way to seek out childcare for our children with disabilities, and some tips and resources. We really appreciate you and your time. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I would love to get that quote. If you could email it to me, I would love to have that, because that is so wonderful. Thank you.
I will do that. Thank you so much for everyone listening in. Don't forget to register for Summer School for Parents. Call us if you need assistance with childcare, education, navigating state services, or if you'd like to just talk to a parent who understands what you're going through. Please reach out to Raising Special Kids. We'll put our contact information in the chat. And with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.